Imagine standing in a room full of people. You're speaking, trying to be helpful, being the person everyone likes, but you're completely invisible. Mark was the archetypal nice guy. He was the first to offer an airport ride and the last to leave the office because he was doing everyone else's paperwork. He assumed that by making himself indispensable, he was building a bank account of respect. But his boss didn't see a leader, he saw a tool. His friends didn't see a pillar of strength, they saw a safety net they could step on whenever they needed. Mark had fallen into the availability paradox. This chart plots how often you are available against how you are valued. In psychology, we value scarcity. As your availability approaches 100%, your perceived value drops to 0. Responding to every message within seconds and always saying yes signals that your time has no inherent worth. Seeking validation through constant availability doesn't earn respect. It trains the world to treat you like a ghost. Reversing this requires the practice of controlled absence. This means being willing to walk away and saying no without offering an elaborate apologetic excuse. Establishing this boundary forces a shift in how others perceive you. Your presence stops being a given expectation and starts being viewed as a scarce gift. You can apply the same withholding of resources to conversation through alpha silence. This is the intentional 3-second pause before you answer a question. Rushing your words signals anxiety. It is a subtle plea for permission to take up space, fueled by the fear that if you don't speak quickly, you will be interrupted. Holding a 3-second silence before responding flips the dynamic. It communicates that you are comfortable with yourself and indifferent to the other person's immediate judgment. These acts of withholding time and speech work by signaling a lack of desperation, which the human brain is wired to associate with high status. Beyond what you withhold, authority is projected through the slow burn. High-status individuals avoid jerky, fast movements or fidgeting, moving instead with a measured, deliberate pace. This is a wireframe of vulnerable posture. By leaning back and leaving the chest unblocked, you signal that you are not under threat. You are claiming your right to occupy space, rather than acting like an intruder in the room. Your voice must match this physical certainty. The statement ending involves dropping your vocal pitch at the end of a sentence to make your words sound final. Compare that to upspeak, where sentences end with a rising pitch, almost like a question. It sounds like you are seeking approval for your own opinion. Finally, apply the law of least effort. When someone attempts to bait or insult you, remain still and mildly curious. If you don't react, you prove that their opinion is too insignificant to warrant an emotional response. When you align these physical and emotional cues, people subconsciously pick up on your self-assurance and adjust their behavior to match the standard you've set. There was a man who executed every one of these psychological tricks perfectly. He was wealthy and charismatic, yet he remained deeply miserable. When his life eventually collapsed, his peers instantly turned on him. He hadn't actually earned their respect. He had only rented their attention. He was using these behaviors as a shield. Using psychological tactics to make people like you is ultimately just another form of seeking validation. People can sense when outward confidence is a mask. They feel the difference between an intentional silence and one that is simply empty. Any behavioral shift intended to manipulate how others see you will fail if your internal state is still rooted in the fear of rejection. True authority begins with the internal no. This is radical self-ownership, the practice of treating yourself with respect when no one is watching. It means prioritizing the promises you make to yourself over the urge to keep the peace with others. Personal authority is not about tricking others into submission. It is about the refusal to betray your own values for the sake of a bit of applause. The world only begins to bow to you at the moment you become genuinely willing to be hated for who you are, rather than loved for who you aren't. Look back at your choices from the last week. Were you the architect of your own respect, or were you just a character in someone else's play? Breaking the chain of fear shifts respect from a social game you play into a non-negotiable standard you embody.